President Trump set to sign an executive order today that will roll back the Clean Power Plan, an initiative from the Obama administration. The policy restricts greenhouse gas emissions from coal-fueled power plants. Take a look back at what the commander-in-chief has said about the coal mining industry.
I'm going to put the miners back to work.
You look at what's happened with our miners and all of it's just incredible what's happening to our country. And we've got to stop it, and we will stop it.
We are preparing new executive actions to save our coal industry and to save our wonderful coal miners from continuing to be put out of work. The miners are coming back.
Joining me right now is the U.S. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke. Mr. Secretary, good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Great to be with you, Maria.
So will this order bring coal jobs back to America?
Well, it will, but it is Jobs Day, and it's important to realize really three things. First of all, that we need jobs, and there's a social cost of not having jobs in America, and you need reliable and affordable energy for manufacturing. And lastly, it is environmentally better to have energy produced here under reasonable regulation than watch it get produced overseas with no regulation. I've been to maybe 63 countries. I've seen where energy is produced without regulation, and it is better, again, to produce energy here under reasonable regulation, environmentally. What
are you looking to do, then, in terms of jobs at the Interior? I mean, obviously, the Interior Department responsible for the management and conservation of most federal lands and natural resources. How do you look to the federal land today and turn that into a job story?
Well, Interior controls about 1/5 of the territory of the United States, and within that territory we have enormous assets of energy and mines, and we're going to do it right. I'm very much a conservationist, as is the President, but we want to make sure that we use our public lands in the right way, and that's creating wealth and jobs, and certainly we can do that. But when a regulatory environment is set up where we can't drill, we can't mine, we can't use our resources in a responsible way, that's what the President is doing today, and it's Jobs Day in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, because there are so many bureaucracies in place making it hard to actually have companies spend, invest, and create jobs. So you've got the Dakota Access Pipeline developer, Energy Transfer Partners, sir, saying that it has placed oil in the pipeline beneath Missouri River and is preparing to put it into service. The President signed a memorandum just days after taking office to go ahead with the building of that pipeline. Can you give us any details regarding the timeline of this particular project?
Well, it's going forward, and as far as the pipeline goes, a lot of it has been our inability to build infrastructure. And strategically, it's important for the United States to be not only an energy producer, but to be dominant where we need to. And we talk about Russia a lot in the news. If we're gonna check Russia, it's about delivering liquid natural gas to Eastern Europe, subplanning their ability to make cash. Same thing with Iran. And the only way you can do that is put the infrastructure in place. And over the recent years, it's been very difficult to build a pipeline. And these assets that are energy producing have been to a degree isolated. And this President is taking a look at that, making sure we can build our infrastructure to not only be energy independent, but to be an exporter as well in a responsible way. It's the right play.
So this morning there's a report that the President would like to tackle infrastructure at the same time he's tackling tax reform. Does that sound right to you?
It does. And infrastructure, you can do it public-private partnerships. A lot of it is get it out of the way so we can build infrastructure. And even when you were replacing a bridge in an easement, if you're 3 or 4 years looking at an environmental assessment of replacing an existing bridge, that's 3 or 4 years we could actually be building. And so there's a lot to do, but I think we want to do it in a very responsible way. The President certainly is jobs, jobs, jobs. And I'm just grateful to be a part of the team.
And we should point out that when you're looking at tapping into the energy resources of this country and infrastructure, it's not just about jobs, but it's also about national security. So the administration wants nearly $1 billion for 62 miles of border wall, according to a new report. According to this executive order the President signed in January, you'll work with Homeland Security to build that wall. When are you expecting the project to be implemented?
Well, I had a meeting with Secretary Kelly, and I think he's absolutely the right guy for the job. He's a tough Marine. Interior owns about 40% of that, and we're looking at designs. We're looking at where it's appropriate to make the wall. Some places in our national park down there, the wall is a 100-foot cliff that's all resistance. The tribes are very important to consolidate or consult with the tribes. There's a lot of tribal cultural value there. We'll get it done. You know, Kelly is on target. My role is the supporting commander of General Kelly. And I can't think of a better person for the job. Yeah,
but I mean, are you going to get pushback? I mean, here we are this morning talking about the president's desire to do tax reform and infrastructure at the same time. Is that because you need to get a buy-in from the Democrats in order to get this agenda going here? I mean, the president keeps facing pushback. Do you think you're going to have more common ground with the Democrats in terms of infrastructure, or are they going to push back specifically on the border wall?
Well, you know, I like to look at it as the American value of what's important, regardless of Democrat or Republican. Certainly, infrastructure is an American value that we can come together on. The border wall, you know, a nation without borders can't exist. So let's look at enforcing the law. Let's look at where the wall is appropriate. So I think there's, you know, the rhetoric aside, I think there's a lot more middle ground than what Washington is producing at the moment.